people to know that that is possible, that you could leave a negative situation, that you can move on in your life, that you can go through pain, hardship, grief. You can go through all of that and you can still remain in a place of love, either to yourself or others. It doesn't have to remain, you don't have to remain in the pain. You don't have to just sit there and think life won't change, become bitter. I believe that we have one life to live, and if people choose or even have a choice of how they want to live it, we don't need to remain in the negative or in the traumas and the things that we go through. In many episodes, you will learn a little bit more about me and a lot of the things that I've overcome. And so personally, in some, I would say that, we don't have to remain in that dark place or in any place that does not bring us, peace. We can choose that peace overall. We can overcome. There's so much we can do, and we can do it from a place of love and therefore win, in our lives. It's one life. What are we doing with it? So
welcome to the Win with Love podcast. Today we launch a special podcast, and it's a special project that we have been working on for a long time. And it's my honor to present to you the creator of this podcast and my dear friend Maggie. I know that this is a project that we've been working on several months, and is a product of a lot of love and effort and your experiences, and we wanted to use this first episode to get to know you a little better, and the purpose of this project that we're working on in the podcast, your message. So to begin with, let's talk about a little bit about how we met, if you want to tell our listeners.
Yeah, so first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who is watching or tuning in and listening. We definitely are appreciative of you. Welcome to the Win with Love podcast. This is the official first episode ever, and I am honored to share this with Maya Luz, which is the everything behind the scenes for this production that we are starting up now and have been working on for several months, like she said. So we here at Win with Love podcast are definitely in collaboration with Blue Diamond Photography and Video, which is her business, and definitely the parts of everything that is putting all this together, from including the set to the editing and everything that you guys will never see, but is so important. So definitely I want to share a little bit of how we met. Actually, I think it was about 2 years ago. It was actually February, so it's almost 2 years exact to the date. We were at a Party City, and I remember standing behind her. Now, her and I have gone to high school together, but we had not seen each other for a while. So as you can tell, and just so everybody knows, her hair is red, like for real. So it's a natural redhead, can't miss her. And so just kind of, I think I kind of looked for you and kind of met eyes and just took off from there. She started telling me about the photography business that she had in place. At the time, I was about to launch my first business, which is a mental health practice here out of the state of Florida. And I definitely needed branding pictures. I needed so much, but I didn't know that I was going to reconnect with someone and actually, launch a lot of different projects with her. So it was amazing to get to know her. I think a lot of times we meet people at certain times in our lives. And in our case, it was reconnecting at the best time in our lives, where we were both launching businesses and having similar dreams and goals. I know that Maya Luz has a lot of visions around helping professional women in her branding business, and I definitely wanted to be part of that as well, including the things that I wanted to do. It was just such a great compliment. And so I asked her here today to do this episode with me, because I definitely wanted to share with you guys about the podcast and why we're doing what we're doing and what the message is, the purpose, everything. But I definitely wanted to do it from a more of an interview type type of setting versus just a monologue, I figured it would be a little bit better if someone was asking me the questions for a change. And so here we are. So about 2 years later, we have done so many things together. So many different little nooks and crannies that it takes to put this stuff together. And I'm just super grateful for you and having reconnected with you.
Yeah, it was like amazing. At that moment, I was starting my photography business, and I was actually transitioning. We'll know a little bit more about my background in another episode, but I started photographing kids and families, and that day I was actually there at where we met at Party City, and I was there buying balloons so that I could take it to the park and take those family pictures. And I turned around and I'm like, wait, I think I know you. And obviously we locked eyes, so we started talking, and immediately we exchanged numbers.
Yes.
And right away we had a lot of things in common, and we started talking about our projects, and she needed personal branding pictures, and I'm like, well, that's what I'm trying to get into. So you were actually my first personal branding client.
Yes.
So thank you for trusting me.
You're welcome. I signed my life away that day. She had me sign a paper where she could put my face wherever she wants. But it was a great investment, and we haven't looked back ever since. So cheers to our reconnecting and our friendship, and thank you for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And let's talk a little bit about the Win with Love, the reason why we're here. What does Win with Love mean for you?
Well, I think we can take it into many different contexts. Win with Love, as I did my research after I came up with the name, I realized too that it's also very Christian. In the Bible, there are verses and scriptures around doing everything from a place of love, God being, love. However, for me, although personally I do believe that's true, but Win with Love is a message to the world about winning from a good place, winning with either self-love or love for others or compassion, or just simply, even if you're drawing boundaries around a negative situation, you're doing it from a place of love versus doing it from a place of spite, hate, resentment, and a lot of these different emotions that will eat away at you over time. I think there's so much going on in the world right now that is, negative, that there needs to be more love and unity. And I know that sounds a little bit woo-woo or whatnot, but there's so much of what we don't want, and there's so much light being shined on the things that are going wrong, that are not right, that we needed a twist of events and to start putting out there what it really means to come together and actually do things from a heartfelt place. I'm here, I'm sharing a message with the world, I'm sharing with her, and I want people to know that that is possible, that you could leave a negative situation, that you can move on in your life, that you can go through pain, hardship, grief. You can go through all of that, and you can still remain in a place of love, either to yourself or others. It doesn't have to remain, you don't have to remain in the pain. You don't have to just sit there and think life won't change, become bitter. I believe that we have one life to live, and if people choose or even have a choice of how they want to live it, we don't need to remain in the negative or in the traumas and the things that we go through. In many episodes, you will learn a little bit more about me and a lot of the things that I've overcome. And so personally, in some, I would say that, we don't have to remain in that dark place or in any place that does not bring us, peace. We can choose that peace overall. We can overcome. There's so much we can do, and we can do it from a place of love, and therefore win, in our lives. It's one life. What are we doing with it? So that's a sum of this purpose, because I can go on and on about it.
Yes, and why a podcast? Why did you decide to put together this? It's a big commitment.
Yes. So I started to do a lot of Instagram lives with different folks over on the mental health side. It's part of what I do, my other business. Mm-hmm. And I realized that although that message is extremely, extremely important, I wanted to do something that was a little bit more global, a little bit, just can be anybody can hear it. And I wanted to always collaborate with other people. I wanted to always bring other guests and not just, it's not about me. it's about the message that we get to share with the world. And how do we do that? We do that by collaborating with other folks. We do it by allowing other people's gifts and callings and talents to shine through. And so to be able to be a facilitator of that was always something that I wanted to do. I just didn't know how. And so when I came up with the Win with Love concept, I thought immediately, well, we got to go on YouTube. It's got to get out there. And with this platform, it doesn't always have, it's not going to be about me. You know, I'm part of it. I'm going to be sharing messages, sure. But the overarching goal here is to have a community, to have an overarching theme of giving back. And so I think that answers your question.
Yes, and I know that in your, because this message and this concept and the idea of having the podcast and what you want to share, I know that it resonates with, or it aligns very well with your professional and educational background. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I know I mentioned it a little bit in the beginning. I am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. I'm also a certified clinical trauma professional, which means that I niched in an area of trauma where most of my clients will be either trauma survivors or people going through a traumatic event. I have worked with an array of clients, from children to geriatrics to clients that are in the they're incarcerated or in the jail system. And I also specialize in working with first responders on the mental health side. So when I've been in the field for a little bit over 10 years, and when I decided to put the podcast together, I figured that my background already, having seen so many different people from so many walks of life and people that have gone through so many struggles, has given me an insight as to what messages need to be shared more. You know, how these folks, especially my clients that are, you know, trauma survivors, and the things that they have overcome and how they've overcome them is such a huge message. And it's so needed for people to know that if you're going through a difficult situation, you, again, don't have to stay there. And because I've seen it firsthand, I've seen people go from homelessness to not being homeless. Okay, I've seen people gone from a traumatic divorce to living a happy life after that, you know, and being content. And I've seen people with self-esteem issues and eating disorders, and just everybody, you know, people that have just really been struggling where, you know, they've even been suicidal, things like that, overcome that, you know, see themselves on the other side of that bridge. You know, they've walked the tough path, but they haven't stayed there. And a lot of that goes into that kind of work is personal work. It's self-worth, it's self-love. And so it all comes back to choosing yourself for the sake of mending those parts, right? And so when we do that, we're essentially adding love. We don't do that from a place of negativity or hate or whatnot. So as I'm studying this and I'm looking at the clients I have, I started to think, well, I think a podcast, number one, is going to get me all this reach, and number two, just the knowledge that I've acquired over the years and I continue to acquire can be added. And then on top of that, now I know, you know, more specifically the guests and people that I would love to bring on to continue to get that out there. It's not just one client at a time, but now we can reach so many more people. So it's just kind of like tying it all together.
That's beautiful. And you talk about that you want to bring different people to the podcast to share their experiences. So
yes.
What is your vision for this podcast, and what do you really hope to get out of this, or that people get out of this?
Yeah. So I have a vision in general to make Win with Love huge. Like I want the podcast to, again, share that message with the world about doing things from a place of love. But in addition to that, I think that people from different professions, it's not just mental health, it's not just healthcare, it's not just life coaching. People all over the world are making change. They're creating change. And so, for example, with you have your photography and video business. And so you work specifically with a certain population and you add value to that population. You know, the ladies that she works with are now believing in themselves. They're doing so many things for themselves that they didn't before do or think they could do. And it's not just photography, it's a development project, it's an empowerment project. And so having somebody on a show like this, a podcast, that we can then use them to share how that particular industry is creating that change will help someone else, capture that message and potentially, run with that or believe in themselves, etc. So my vision is to have people from all walks of life, different professions, come and share their story with the same mission, which is to give back. If we want to take that further, I definitely have a vision to add on a coaching program to this. Definitely, I would love to see people wear Win with Love, either in shirts, bracelets, or something, because it's just a message that I think you can look down and say, you know what, I can do this, and from a place of love.
And I think that this message is something that you can apply, and we will see here with a different guest, and you can apply, you can make it your own, right?
Yes.
It's different for everyone. You can make it your own, and you can apply it to different parts of your life, your personal life, your business life. So it's a message that is very applicable, very transferable, but I believe that it also starts with you, right?
Right. And it's broad enough to where, whatever that definition of love is for you, that it could be, like you said, applicable. It's not a one size fits all, but it's the umbrella of the thought that brings it all together.
And anything, what is the message that you want to share with the world? Anything in a specific besides that Win with Love that we're talking about?
So one of the things that I've always been very passionate about is, and it's actually very personal to me, is telling the world that you are enough, or even telling my clients you are enough. I will self-disclose a little bit. For a long time I struggled with not feeling like I was enough of a woman, or enough of a partner, or enough of a professional, enough of a mom, all these things. I think it comes from a place of maybe perfectionism, or just the fact that nowadays women socially are pushed to embody so many roles at the same time. But it can lead us to a place of feeling like we're inadequate. And I just want to say that everyone is enough exactly as they are. That doesn't take away the fact that you can enhance, change things about yourself, but exactly how the package is just fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you, and anything you want to make better, you can, but it starts from a place of just being confident in that there's nothing wrong with you and that you are completely enough. And I can't say that, I can't share that enough with the world, because a lot of us, especially, people may not even admit to it, but a lot of us sit there in the quiet times and we just feel like this isn't enough. I'm not doing here. I'm not where I want to be. I mean, it's so general, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of change happen because someone sat first on the acceptance side of things, accepted themselves, and said, okay, this is who I am. I'm looking in the mirror. This is it. It's what I got. But then we can do positive changes. We can do things that are, favorable, versus believing we're not enough or sitting in that frame of thought and then actually torturing ourselves or getting depressed, let's say, from the, thinking of where we're not at. And so you are enough is a pretty global message. I'm not the first one to say it, but it hits home for me, and I know that it changed a lot for me to get to that mindset.
Yes, and definitely I think that having that time to self-reflect, that makes a big difference. Many times, and day to day we're busy. We're busy with family, we're busy with work, we're busy with everything, and we don't really take the time to sit down and say, am I okay? Am I happy how things are doing, or am I reaching my goals? Do I even have goals? Some people don't have goals,
right?
So I think that first, we do need to take, quiet our brains a little and have some inner self-reflection time. Have checks, periodic checks, or checks with yourself regularly.
Yeah.
Where you say, okay, am I happy? If not, then what can I do to be happy?
Right. And the truth is, I'll speak a little bit to that, is that we don't realize this sometimes, but a lot of the reasons why we are not content in our lives, whether we are successful in our careers, relationships or not, is because we're not content with ourselves. We are either we're not where we want to be, and we don't realize that's like a behind the scenes thought. It's like an archive that just stays open, a little tab that stays open. And a lot of us aren't able to sit in that reflective time all the time because we're either just working, surviving, making a living. We're just going through the motions. Mm-hmm. And we're not taught early enough in life as, a child, even a teenager, to focus on self to the point where we understand what our values are, how do we align with those values, how are we shaping our lives to align with those values. And often we find ourselves in that spot, not content. Sometimes we don't even know what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And it all comes back to the self. When we look at the life that we have, the friends, the careers, or whatever we're doing, the jobs, and it's just not what we wanted for ourselves, we start internalizing this level of sadness too. Sometimes it gets as deep as that becoming clinical depression. It turns into huge things, or just major anxieties around stuff. And folks will come to me and they have on the outside everything put together. It's not like they're like homeless or something. They're successful, they're all these things, but something's just not right. And it always shows up somewhere. I find that it shows up often in your relationships, but sometimes it shows up in other areas. And we have to pay attention to that. If we focused on self a little bit more, not in a selfish way, but just in a taking care of yourself way, mm-hmm. we would actually have more content, happier human beings leading more fulfilled lives. And that's at a different level for everyone. Contentment, happiness, fulfillment is different. It's a different formula mm-hmm. for everyone, but we wouldn't have so many bitter and just, so people are just sitting in anger. I mean, there's so much, right? There's so much that we can do and talk about that, but
definitely.
Yeah.
And sometimes it shows up in your body.
Yes.
You have signs, and that's when you sometimes, and we'll share a little bit about that later in other episodes, but sometimes it's just your body that's telling you something is wrong.
100%.
And you have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Very good. And we can talk about this forever. Any additional comments or messages that you want to give our viewers, listeners about, the podcast or the message of Win with Love, having this mindset?
Definitely, staying open-minded. I think there's going to be a lot of topics that we're going to be bringing up. And I really do hope that we can, touch your lives in different ways. Not every topic may resonate with everyone, but we definitely want to keep it broad.
How can the viewers and listeners reach us?
So we are on several platforms. If this resonated with you or any part of it, or if you definitely just want to listen more and look towards the upcoming episodes, definitely subscribe here on YouTube at the Win with Love podcast channel. You can also reach us or follow us, I should say, on Instagram at Win with Love podcast as well. And if you have any suggestions, any questions, or if you'd love to be part of the podcast, we definitely want to hear from you.
Yes.
And you can email us at admin, ADMIN, at winwithlove.com. Now, Win with Love is winwith-love.com. We're definitely going to put that in the screen for you, but we would love to hear from you. And I can't wait to just see what future collaborations we have. And I want to thank you guys, all the viewers, listeners, because without you, definitely this wouldn't be happening. And just super grateful.
Thank you.